maybe?
Oh, here he is.
Okay.
Okay, we're live with the Land Use Committee, Wednesday, May 17th at 7:30 a.m. First item is the City Hall facility.
He wants to go to 2.
If I can go to 2. Oh, you want to go straight to 2? If I could.
You want to jump to 2? Oh,
If I
okay.
could.
All right, yeah. We'll start with
Um,
number 2, which is the Peninsula Feed Lease Agreement.
Okay, so you've got a picture in there of the area that they're currently leasing. At least I thought you would. Sorry, if you don't. I do. There's their building, there's their parcel, the green area. They're currently leasing the orange area here. It's 5,000 square feet. So that comes due in August. I don't know what the difference are there, but there are subtle differences once we become a code city about the process we have to go through. But we're not a code city yet, so we're moving forward, forward as is. We've been in the other current leases. We didn't used to do appraisals. We don't have to do an appraisal. I mean, we have to value it. We don't have to do a full MAIA appraisal. We've done these last two. We've done for like Titus and for Ron Ness. We've done broker's price opinions, roughly $500 to go have that done. Rebecca, you expressed a desire to go talk to John to see how much of this. I mean, obviously, where he's storing he's got a door here. There's some of this he really has to lease for his business operation, and whether he needs this area here for private parking or not is really his business decision. So we're prepared to write him a letter to let him know that the lease is coming up. But if I'm going to have an appraisal done, I need to know what the scope of the appraisal is going to be. Is it all of that, or is it that? And based on currently they're paying $482 a month. The Titus lease we just did was $437 a month. But there's a big difference. Titus's property was landlocked. One of the comparables they're going to point to is this paid parking over here. So I'm pretty confident that the appraised value is going to go up on that strip of land. And so I just wanted to give you guys that update, and if somebody could reach out to him soon, we should be writing him a letter letting him know the lease is coming up and I'll have Brandy do that.
So you're going to talk to him first about what the scope of that.
If somebody could.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yeah, I'll go make a copy because this is my original. So yeah, be right back with that. Okay, thank you.
And when he's saying somebody could, is he asking one of us? Oh, you're going to, okay. All right. Hello. Is that it for Peninsula Feed Lease Agreement?
Sounds like it.
Okay, we'll jump back to item number 1, City Hall use.
So, we've had quite a bit of use in City Hall, and we just wanted to make sure, take this opportunity to look at the code and the resolution to see if you guys want to amend it any. And also look at the hourly rate, or the room rate in the resolution. What we're having currently is after hours, anywhere from half hour to an hour, hour and a half. And I think after hour staffing is $35 per hour, and I think we're more closer to $45. So I don't know if it's more of a recouping the cost type of thing, or if we just want to leave it be. I know it's been quite a while.
Since
99.
99.
99.
For the record.
Thank you.
Almost 20 years.
It's,
Yo, voicemail, that's my key stuck in the front door.
Oh, okay.
seems like it's ripe for an update.
Yeah, I agree.
So would you like, for the pricing, do you want me to get with finance to find out what the average
Yeah.
hourly rate is.
Well, then
Or-
does that get you into overtime when you're doing after hours?
Hmm?
Does that get you into overtime for some of these staff? If it's
Yes.
after hours?
Yeah, I typically, if I'm available, I'll do it just because I'm salary and it
Right.
doesn't trigger anything. But sometimes I'm not able to do it and it'll trigger overtime for staff, unless we choose to have them flex, but then they're gone during the day when I need them
Right.
the most, so.
That makes sense.
Do you know, say for the last year, how many times you've had to do it and how many times others?
I've done it probably about 3 times, which is not a lot, and staff's done it about 5.
Okay.
So it's not a huge number, but I just thought I'd bring it before you guys and see if you guys wanted to look at
I
it.
would look at, some kind of an average between you and them based on 5-to-3 ratio or something, so when you set that number, it captures. Yeah, I would just take that average hourly rate, and you might be salary, but there's still a number there, and calculate it out. I think we, not necessarily looking to make a bunch of money, but I think we should cover the city's costs. Well, your point of overtime is, I'm suggesting that if we look at the overtime rate for your time and figure out what the average should be.
Okay.
I think flexing makes sense. Doesn't make sense.
And then as far as the organizations and the government that uses, we haven't had any issues with that. I think our code is pretty clear that, it's certain types of things, so I don't think there needs to be any change on that unless you guys see something, but, so that's what that was about.
Okay. All right, then we're on to the Sydney Art Museum parking and loading area and a taxi stand.
Is that me?
That's you.
That's you.
So we had two requests. One was by the Sydney Gallery. I guess managers, operators, to have a loading zone, a 30-minute loading zone in front of their building for people to drop off art and pick up art. And then more recently, we had a taxi driver that was looking for a loading zone on Bay Street. So those are decisions that I can't make administratively. They have to, 10.12 of the municipal code needs to be modified. So we're going through the process. I guess I don't know if I have an opinion. It's probably more, to me, this is a council decision. Are we going to take, we've done it in the past on Sydney, there in front of the antique shop, kind of across from Myrie, so in the northeast quadrant. We put in a loading zone for her when she asked in 2008. So the city has, maybe precedent isn't a good word, but they've done that in the past upon request. I don't think either one of these is unreasonable. It just is taking parking away. I think Carrie, on Sydney in front of the museum, that's 2-hour parking, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Right. So, the issue there is, in the past, the Sydney Gallery wanted their own parking space, and the city couldn't do that. And I think even that area, we had back in 2010, I think, is when we had the whole downtown 2-hour, 4-hour parking conversation, where there was 4-hour parking on, I think it was on Prospect, in that area was 4, and then we changed that whole downtown area to 2. And that was during the whole chain parking. John, you remember we had the chain parking conversation. We had the 4 versus 2. We had the merchant parking. Are we providing parking for employees or patrons? I mean, it was a very quite involved conversation. My only reservation in either one of these is, does it potentially spark that whole conversation again on really what are we doing with the downtown? And I don't know what the current merchant parking count is, because those were permit, and there's still those that's right behind It's kind of the Kitsap Bank drive-through, that row of parking. There's 9 or 10 stalls. I believe there are still merchant stalls there, right?
Yeah, and I think the only ones that are actively using it, I know the mayor and I looked at it last year sometime, and it's Cloyce and Mike's. They get anywhere from 10 to 12 a month, and then so it must be more than that many stalls. And then I think there's 2 other organizations that were using it.
Is that the same thing down on the waterfront, right against the water where it says permit parking?
No,
You know, the paid lot?
Those are the marina stalls. We swapped with the Port of Bremerton.
Right.
They used to have the stalls in front of at the end of the park. Oh no, the marina parking is now in front of the marina. We swapped with those.
Facing the water, literally right against the boardwalk, there's signs. And I'm wondering if those signs shouldn't be there, because I feel like people, they buy the normal day pass and they park, but it says permit parking versus the rest of the lot says paid parking.
Yeah, I
So
noticed
the first,
that.
12 stalls along the boardwalk closest to the park,
I
that's
think
all
that's
port.
when we were selling monthly passes. That was the permit.
Right.
And we were
So maybe
holding
that
stalls.
sign
So that
needs to come
sign
down.
probably needs to be changed.
Yeah, probably
Yeah, the
needs
first
to be
11 stalls nearest the Spinney Park is for park use.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you've got, and I noticed
And then
that
the
when we
next
went to
section.
Amy's the other day, I saw that. I was driving looking for a place to park to go to Amy's with my wife, and it was
Yeah.
like, that struck me as well, like, what's that permit?
Yeah.
So, anyway, I guess I'm getting much more involved, but I think it's important to understand, that the committee understand that
Right.
parking has kind of like a sine wave. And I don't know if, the simple thing is to just say yes on both of these. It's not a big
So-
deal, but
I think the Sydney Art Museum's an easier one, because I don't think the volume of parking there is as big of a deal, but I don't like the precedent this could be setting at the Brick House for a taxi drop. Do we need to have a taxi drop at every single restaurant or bar? And so I think there's enough room, like the little roundabout, we could designate, that's much safer, because even if that's a taxi drop, in the event there's lots of traffic, you get cars coming in and
Well, we
out.
do
and
have
out of
There is a
There is
taxi spot
one.
back there by the roundabout.
Exactly.
there's two stalls there, I think, aren't there?
I
I know there's
don't
I
know.
think we
know
had
there's
one and
one
we
at
added
least.
another one, I
There's
thought.
To me,
one or
that
two
makes sense.
stalls.
It gets it off
Where
Bay
is that?
Street.
Right by
On the
the
waterfront,
town
right by
Yeah.
the.
Oh, okay.
Lowe's.
Yeah.
Across from the
Right.
library.
Yep.
I think it's just so much safer, and you don't have cars trying to pull in and out and parallel park in there, and, so,
Quite honestly, I mean, I know that Moondogs used to have not that I did it a lot, but I think I did it once, where we were staying at some friend's house, kind of up in Jackson area, and we went to Moondogs, and we were there late when they closed, and they had Moondogs at that free shuttle, and they just stop in the middle of the street, because it's, middle of the morning, and
2 a.m., there's not a whole lot of traffic on Bay
right,
Street.
that's what I'm
I
saying,
don't
and so, I don't know how often this taxi guy is having an issue, other than if he just wants to park there like the people park in front of the, Coleman Dock or something.
Well, if there's already a taxi drop, why aren't they using it?
Well, my guess is, A, he either doesn't know that that's there, or B, he thinks it's too far removed.
Right, it's not convenient.
He wants to be there where he's visible. So, yeah.
Isn't there a loading spot near, closer to Sydney?
There's a loading
On the
spot.
south side of Bay Street?
No, there's a loading spot on the north side of Bay, in the northeast. What's the gal that does the antique store that comes to all the meetings?
Steel Magnolia, or it used to be.
Antique, the white, the antique store.
right.
Yeah.
We put in one there, which she asked
Yeah.
in 2008.
Right.
So there's a 30-minute loading there, and then there's the 2 taxi onlys. So he just wants me on Bay Street right now outside the Brook House.
I think we have
I would
enough
just-
person.
Yeah, just tell them where they exist
like that
now.
idea.
Prime parking spot for what I would assume is an occasional use of the cab.
I could see the Sydney Art Museum simply because,
Yeah, I
Yep.
have
you
no
know,
problem with that.
my
makes more
ex-wife
sense.
used to, she's an artist, and I used to
Yeah.
have to give you her paintings in and out, and so I know what that feels like to, hey, you need to help me set up, so you got 5 or 10 pieces of art that you're
Yeah.
Try not to
moving.
bang
Right, the
around.
parking
Yeah.
demands aren't as great.
Yeah.
Traffic's
Yeah.
not as
Yeah.
great.
I know.
I'm
Okay.
okay with that one.
Okay, so is this just, do you want to have this as, that this just recommendation goes to council and I do a 10.12 revision, or do you want to take it to work study for further discussion?
I think probably
Straight to council.
John?
I don't know.
Yeah, I suppose, either way, whichever's the quickest to get it resolved.
Okay.
I mean,
Council.
if the council agenda allows time for it, then great, if not, a work study.
Explain what the discussion we had here today and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
More efficient.
Okay.
I'll go get Nick for the other.
I can do that.
Oh, you're leaving?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else
Okay.
that I have on the agenda.
And I'm assuming I could be excused as well.
See you there?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you, Brandon.
Where is Nick at? Is he in his office?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
be- I'll be.
Doesn't the phone work?
Oh,
You
Durr.
wanna see if you can beat?
No, his.
Do not
Thank
use
you. I'm looking
landlines
right at the phone.
anymore.
I never thought about using the phone.
You know, it's one of those.
Hey, but I don't know the number to my boss.
What's this curly cord?
Hello, we're ready for the last item. Yep. Okay. Said you guys went too fast.
Pretty simple items.
Yeah. Finally got some decent weather coming at us for the
Yeah.
change the next 10 days or so.
Heard on the radio this morning that it's supposed to be in the 80s Monday and Tuesday.
Maybe Wednesday,
Wow.
yes.
Yeah.
It's gonna feel like 110.
Yeah, I know, I was gonna say, get the Bermudas and sunscreen and the glasses.
Now I don't have any excuse not to do yard work. I've been waiting for it to dry for a whole week so I could mow my lawn.
Mm.
80s, it'd be too hot to mow the lawn. Okay.
You just have to get up early.
Pause you.
Yeah.
All right. So item number 4, vacant commercial buildings. Did we have a handout for that?
Yep.
We did?
You gave it to me.
You have that? No. Yeah, next one. No.
No?
Here.
Thank you.
Oh, I got 2 of them.
Oh, you have his.
There you go. Okay. Well, this is something that had been poking around at the edges. I think we had, somebody at one point testified that, hey, maybe we should consider what perhaps model ordinances are out there for looking at addressing vacant commercial buildings. And I think we landed on 2 approaches, one's carrot and one's stick. And I think the kind of casual discussion I had with, I think, Rob was, let's take a look at the carrot approach and see how that may work for us versus jumping straight to the stick approach that I think Everett uses. And so essentially the carrot approach is really just trying to help people get in the, we're trying to incentivize them to get in the door. Anybody have any thoughts?
I like the idea.
I don't know. So the Vancouver approach, the 4 bullet points that they have,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that there's I don't know that there's a whole lot that we're not willing to do. It's just, I guess, a matter of approaching somebody for this type of thing. As far as local, state, and federal incentives, obviously we've passed the tax abatement provision downtown, but that's the only incentive that I know of that we have access to here. One thing it said in here was talking about getting people to the front of the line, which I don't know that we have much of a line that benefits somebody. I mean, we can get somebody in for a pre-app usually within a week or 2.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of permit plan review, we could save them 4 weeks perhaps, but that's not a significant amount of time.
I think the thing
change.
that
Go ahead.
stands out to me the most is just that bullet that talks about general minimum maintenance requirements.
Yeah.
I think I like that bullet, under Everett's.
I don't, in looking at that a little bit more, I don't know how much of a stick that really is. It's,
There don't seem to be any penalties attached.
right,
Right.
there's a fee structure.
And enforcement mechanism.
Yeah.
But there's nothing that actually says you can't have a vacant building. I mean, there's not a prohibition against vacant buildings. It's just saying you have to register them and maintain them and, right.
Well, and there's probably more to this code. This might be just kind of a little overview.
Yeah, the second sentence of page 3 says there's a tiered fee structure for vacant properties depending on length of vacancy. So, and intended to defray costs. But what costs?
I mean, is that permit costs for
I don't know.
reoccupying the space, or?
So we have to get our hands on the entire code.
Yeah, so is it worthwhile kicking this to the next committee meeting with a little bit, maybe actually getting the
Yeah, getting a copy of each of
getting
the
a copy
codes,
of
yeah.
each of those
So you want to look at
programs?
Everett and Vancouver?
Yeah,
Sure.
Mhm.
great.
The adaptive reuse program for Vancouver, and then the code for Everett. Certainly, some of the other ideas here are intriguing, but create abandoned property list for eminent domain.
Yeah, with the higher property tax rates for vacant buildings.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
could be
Those are
fairly
some really
penal if someone's
big sticks.
trying, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, geez.
Aren't our eminent domain rules different in terms of what we can use it for in Washington?
Yeah, this would be new to me. I hadn't heard of this
Yeah, I think you have to demonstrate public use and necessity.
before. Uh-huh.
Again, this is talking around the country use mechanisms.
Right.
This might not be applicable
Yeah.
to.
This is like more what they do in Detroit, where like whole blocks are abandoned, and the city wants to get those and tear them down and stop serving those areas.
All right, well, I guess we'll know a little bit more at the next meeting.
I'll include this as a discussion item again and have
Yeah.
those codes as attachments.
Sure, as a standing item until we decide.
I think the one thing that I would be interested in as well is what's the practicality of enforcement? Do we have the staff to, whatever it is that we're going to have as tools, can we truly enforce it? I know in a report that we had not long ago about some challenges with the building up at Albertsons, and that's occupied. So
Right.
when you're talking about foreign investors or something like that,
Well, if it's a zoning standard that says that a building has to be maintained in such a way that's important, right now we just don't have that standard that says that something has to be maintained.
right, but how would you enforce it? Are we gonna go in and, like derelict buildings, we're gonna tear them down, or we're gonna go in and paint them and
Bring
charge
civil
property,
charges,
or,
and if that doesn't work, go criminal.
you know?
One way to do
Okay,
it.
well, but whatever, I just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
to see
Right,
that
right.
aspect of it, so. when we
Yeah,
talk
sort of
about
That's
this,
realistic to
Yeah.
enforce.
Yeah. Downstream. Okay,
Great.
what time is it?
It is.
7:55.
7:55.
All right, adjourn.